Hello again. Welcome to the Inner Fighter series with Lynette Fioroni. How are you today?
I'm great, Tucker. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Always great to see you. And today, I'm excited to talk about this quick topic. I mean, I can recall, Lynette, how many times as a kid I played a lot of soccer, and my dad was always the coach.
Mm.
Practice makes perfect. I mean, that's like the one thing that every child remembers when it comes to, what's that parental advice? And you talk a lot about behavioral changes. How do we create new DNA around behaviors that are focusing on prioritizing ourselves? How do we find ways of accessing those things that help us live a more fulfilled life? And you talk specifically about this concept of selfishness. And one of the things that I learned, and I've always remembered this, that the word selfish was actually designed to be a positive word. Back in the old days when it was invented,
Exactly.
it meant you knew yourself. You were full of yourself in the way that you stood confidently because you knew where your beliefs were, where your morals were. And we
Exactly.
have over time, society has made selfish a negative word.
Yes.
But today we're going to talk about what it means to be more in tune with self. So let's talk about, behavior of self-care.
Let's talk about the idea of self-care and the idea that, first of all, it's over talked about, it's overdone. I don't even know that people really understand what self-care is today. They just think, oh, yeah, that's that meditation stuff that I can't do.
Yeah.
Well, so I ran across this quote this morning that I want to read to you because it's very applicable in this circumstance. It's talking about motherhood, but it really could be womanhood or fatherhood. And it says, where you literally do everything for everyone in your house, while everyone in your house just walks around wondering why you're always in a bad mood, right? And
Ah,
that kind of summarizes why we need to take care of ourselves and why we need to step away and figure out what it is. And it doesn't have to be yoga or meditation or deep breathing. I mean, it could, and it doesn't have to be going to get a manicure or pedicure. It could be, for example, my daughter's dating a guy right now who gets his relaxation time fly fishing. He just
mm,
wants to be on the
yeah.
water and he doesn't keep the fish. He just likes being on the water, literally. So, finding what works for you and carving out the time. So, in order to do that, is that selfish? Not really. Not if you're going to come back and you're going to be a full person because you cannot fill someone else's cup if your own cup is empty. And all of this that I'm saying are things that we've heard, a zillion times. But when it comes to your own life, if you really examine your own life, and you realize that you're not being the best that you can be in terms of parenting or corporate, your coworkers, maybe you're not able to support, or maybe you're not able to give as much compassion as you really have in you because you're not being compassionate with yourself. So it all that journey, it all starts at home. And it really starts with recognizing and noticing your own behaviors and
Mhm.
changing behaviors even just a little bit at a time. Even just taking 5 minutes at night before you go to your own fall asleep, before you fall asleep, just taking a little time for you to really just relax and do something that you want to do.
Right.
It starts with little behaviors, changing little behaviors one at a time.
I love that. I think giving ourselves a permission slip to do that is hard sometimes.
Yeah,
And,
it's really hard.
I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm happy to admit that. There's a lot of fear around letting people down, rejection, just that kind of, self-doubt and just wanting to be, you know, good standing with everyone around you.
There's a
And
lot of shame in our culture too about not, and especially for women. I mean, my client base is primarily women, but it's also for men. But there is shame around not doing enough
yes.
for your family and now, working, and the pressure is so intense. It leads right back to that anxious generation that we talked about in a different scenario, but it's so very true. So just as recovering people pleaser, just noticing your own behavior and little steps at a time is what's required here.
Yeah. I recently was talking to my son who's now off in college, and one of the things that the university asks specifically day one when they check in, what brings you joy?
Oh, that's awesome.
Because that generation, when or I should say at that age, uh, has they've never been asked that question.
Right.
And this is an opportunity when you think about self-care and exploration, self-discovery, what does that look like? And being able to give permission to finding joy earlier on, and that's something I think we're doing better with. And I think one of the things you do so well, especially with the younger women entrepreneurs, is know that early and often, because otherwise it bites you in the butt at the end.
Gotta honor that and really, even on a day where you think, I'm fine, I don't need to do that, you really want
Yep,
to practice. That practice is such an important word to go back to your idea about the soccer practice. Practicing your own self care
yep,
is as important as anything else that you can do in life, whether
absolutely.
it's sleeping, nutrition, exercise, whatever it might be, all of those things, critically important.
Well, everyone, you've heard it directly from Lynette. Give yourself the permission slip, focus on self-care, focus on self-prioritization. And as you said, if your cup is completely empty, what are you going to be able to give to anybody else? Right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's you've depleted. So thank you again for your time. Super excited, and we'll see you on another conversation of the Inner Fighter series. Until then, prioritize yourself and give yourself that permission slip. Thanks, Lynette.
Yep.